Year 2, today is Tuesday the 30th of June. Welcome to your next maths lesson on fractions, and today we're going to focus on making equal fractions. So you're going to need your work from yesterday. We'll do some marking to start off, some blank paper, a pencil, a partner and your 2B workbook. So I'm not going to go through all of these answers to save some time, so you can pause the video here and check your answers against the red ones in the pictures. And if you do have any questions about any of them, please send me or Miss Gardner a message. We would love to help. I do want to go through the answers for our challenge questions though. So the first option you had was to explain again our in focus question from the start of yesterday's lesson using our new vocabulary, denominator and numerator. So this is my answer. Yours is probably a little bit different, but just see if you had the same idea. So I said, I think Ravi is correct because we used the number 1 to show a whole. I don't think Ruby is correct because there are 3 equal parts, so the denominator will be 3. One of those equal parts has been shaded, so the numerator is 1. That means the fraction is 1 over 3, which is a third, not a half. So that was my answer. You probably worded it a little bit different, but hopefully you did say that Ravi was correct and Ruby was incorrect. And hopefully you remembered that the denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction that gives it its name, and the numerator is the number on top of the fraction that tells you how many of the parts we're counting. You also could have had a go at this one, where you were naming some quite tricky fractions just by using what you know about the denominator on the bottom and the numerator on the top. So for A, the blue shape, that fraction was 3 for the numerator and 8 for the denominator. For B, the red one, we had 5 on top for the numerator because 5 of the squares were shaded in, and 8 on the bottom because there were 8 parts in total. And finally for C, the fraction was 5 on top. 5 was the numerator, there were 5 green parts, and 12 was the denominator. There were 12 parts in total. So well done if you got those right. They were quite tricky, but if you thought carefully about what denominator and numerator meant, you would have been able to work it out. So today we are going to jump into some pizza. Our in focus problem is all about Charles and Ruby, who both ate a whole pizza each. Lucky things. Charles eats his in 4 equal pieces, so he cut it into 4 equal pieces and then ate it. And Ruby eats hers in 3 equal pieces. Can you draw a simple picture? You don't need to draw all the toppings. I don't need to know if you've got mushroom or pepper or banana, pepperoni, pineapple on yours. Just draw a simple picture of a circle for each pizza, and can you draw what they would look like when they were cut up? So draw lines to show Charles's pizza and Ruby's pizza. You can pause the video to give yourself time to do it. So your pictures probably looked a bit like this, but without all the cheese on top. Charles's pizza was divided into 4 equal parts. So there's a line vertically down the middle and a line horizontally across the middle. That gives 4 quarters or 4 fourths. So he ate 1/4, then another 1/4, then another 1/4, and then another 1/4 to make up 1 whole pizza. Ruby's pizza was divided into 3 equal parts. So there was 1 vertical line and 2 diagonal lines. So she ate 1/3, then 1/3, then 1/3, 3/3 to make up 1 whole. But that's not all the story. What I didn't tell you was that before Charles and Ruby had finished eating their pizza, the doorbell rang. So they weren't finished. When the bell rang, they got up, went to the door, checked who was there, had a chat with their neighbour who was ringing, and then they went back and finished their pizza. So first Charles ate 3/4 of the pizza, and then that's when the doorbell went. So he went and chatted at the door with his neighbour, and then he came back and ate the last 1/4 of the pizza. Then in total he ate the whole pizza. And for Ruby, she had eaten 2/3 of her pizza when the doorbell rang, and then she went and chatted to her neighbour, and when she came back she ate the last 1/3 of the pizza. Then in total she had eaten the whole pizza. Now we could draw what happened with Ruby's pizza as a bar model. We could draw it for Charles's as well, but I'm going to show you here Ruby's one. So we've got a bar to represent the whole pizza. Instead of a circled picture of a pizza, we've got our bar, and it's been divided into 3 equal parts, or thirds. There's 2/3 to show what she ate before the doorbell rang, and 1/3 to show what she ate after the doorbell rang. 1/3 and 2/3 makes one whole, or we could say 2/3 and 1/3 make one whole. And bar models are really helpful when it comes to fractions. Here we can see one whole, one long blue rectangle that represents one whole. It's been shared into 4 equal parts, or 4/4, or 4/4. We can use this to do some addition. For example, we can say 1/4 and 3/4 makes one whole. Can you think of another number sentence we could make using this bar model, using the quarters or the fourths to make one whole? You can pause the video and have a chat with your partner about it. One of them that we could have made, one of the sentences was 2/4 and 2/4 make one, or 2/4 and 2/4 make one. Again, we can use these bar models to help us compare different types of fractions, fractions with different denominators from different families. This is where it gets really interesting. So for example, Ravi's asking, how many quarters make 1/2? So if we have 2 bar models, we've got one yellow bar to represent the halves and one blue bar to represent the quarters. Can you see how many quarters are the same as 1/2? We can see that if I get my little dot up now, 1/4 and 1/4, it's the same, just those 2 bring us up to the same part of the bar as 1/2. So we can say 1/4 and 1/4 makes 1/2. Or 2/4 or 2/4 equal 1/2. For our guided practice, we're going to stick with making fractions equal to a whole. So what we just looked at with 1/4 and 1/4 equal to 1/2, keep it in your head for later in the week or for next week. But for today, in guided practice and independent work, we're just going to focus on making fractions equal to a whole. So in question 1 and question 2, you've been given some pictures where a fraction of the whole has been coloured in one colour, and you need to look at those parts and the uncoloured or the different coloured parts to see what to add together to make a whole, or to make one. For question 3, I haven't given you a picture. So you'll either have to work it out using your number knowledge, or you'll have to draw your own pictures. Remember, you've got your partner with you to help you with guided practice, So have lots of chat. You might even disagree about how to draw it. Maybe you can find different ways to draw diagrams for question 3. Good luck, and I'll show you the answers on the next slide. Okay, so I hope you found that okay. For question 1A, 2/3 was the dark blue fraction and 1/3 was the light blue. 2/3 and 1/3 make 1 whole. For B, 1/4 was in light pink and 3/4 were in darker pink. They add together to make 1 whole. Question 2, the first one, the shaded fraction is 3/8. Some tricky fractions here, but if you remembered your denominator and numerator, you would have been able to write them down, hopefully. And this circle needs 5/8 to be coloured in to make a whole. Underneath, the shaded fraction is 2/7. There are 7 parts in total, 2 of them have been shaded. So it needs 5/7 to make a whole. And underneath, the shaded fraction is 1/3. 1 out of those 3 parts has been shaded, so it needs 2 out of 3 to be shaded to make a whole. And for question 3, A, 1/2 and 1/2 make 1. B, 1/3 and 2/3 make 1. And C, 3/4 and 1/4 make 1. So, for independent work, you're going to be working in your workbook again, your 2B workbook, doing pages 105 and 106. Question 1 is quite similar to what we have been doing, and again, be careful, D and E, you haven't been given a picture. So you can draw a picture to help, or you can use your number knowledge to help you. If you have a look at the answers we did for your guided practice, maybe you'll spot the pattern, what the fractions look like if they're equal to a whole. And question 2, it looks a little bit confusing, but you've got a fraction on top, a whole, and you need to choose 2 of the fractions from underneath that would add together to make that whole. So for A, this is your whole, and you need to choose 2 of these 3 fractions to put a circle around. Choose the 2 that would add together to make a whole. And your challenge is all about some cake. There's lots of food in fractions lessons. So the cake has been cut into 4 quarters, and then Ali cuts each quarter into 2 smaller equal pieces. So your questions are, how many pieces will there be altogether? Then Ali puts 3/4 of the cake into the fridge. So how many smaller pieces is that? And C, what do you think these smaller pieces are called? Can't wait to see your answers. Good luck, year 2.